Here we go. Good news, the volcano has not erupted yet, at least at the time of this painting. But making a sketch right now. Oh, let me get this thing slightly less blurry. Actually, let me disconnect this whole camera. I just want to show where we're at so far because it's really pretty cool. I mean, look how far all of this has come. So if you're just joining, it's been really fun to make a little painting of these every single week. But if you are doing all of these, I mean, take a minute to just like look at everywhere we've come from. Like this is so cool, and like the amount of techniques too used in like one big block. Awesome. It's just so cool. But let me just click all that back in here because today we are going to be doing something kind of similar to what we did last time. And then another quick refresher, this is my palette. It looks slightly different because I can't find my black one, but here is a blue one. How's that for wealth? If I win the lottery, you wouldn't know, but there would be signs and there'd be a lot more palettes. But same colors I got in here, just as if anything. I've got the yellow, a red, burnt sienna, which is a brown, kind of cookie brown, my green, blue, dark blue, purple, and black, or indigo in this case. But any of these can be done with basically anything. I should try one of these as just like a Crayola palette or something like that, just to prove it can be done. That would be kind of a fun challenge. So I'm just gonna scoot all of these out of the way. Scoot, because I only need a couple to kind of show where I'm coming from and where I'm going. We'll leave the mammoth right there, I suppose. So you remember last time we did this painting. Oh, let me go settle the cat in. It is a rainy day outside, and he is wanting to come. Oh, nope, you don't get to go on the table. Here, you can go say hi. This is Charlemagne. Say hi. He is not a fan of the weather, but he is a fan of the heater that I have in the studio. Okay, so we are doing some basically this same technique. We did some really cool seaweed, kind of some bull kelp last time. I don't know if it's bull kelp, but a different kind of kelp last time, whereas kind of like we painted in all the light stuff and then we painted in the dark stuff. Now we're going to do a salmon or whatever kind of fish you want. And it's going to be kind of a similar strategy. We're just going to try to kind of make it a little bit more bold and a little bit more dramatic. So now's a good time to practice that. All right, enough procrastination. Let's do this. But let's focus first, I suppose. Literally. And once again, if you have any questions too, definitely toss them in the comments or send us an email or a letter or anything. That would be amazing. You can find all that information somewhere. With this, I'm going to start with our probably little fishy here, maybe the seaweed and the fish. And here's my palette. So for our little fish with some seaweed, I'm going to be mixing together a little bit of yellow, pretty dirty palette. Maybe I should clean that up. One like really handy thing for any watercolorist is this. I don't know if this is, what is this? I think I took this. I think this had like window washing or like glasses washing fluid in it. Anyway, it's a tiny little spritz bottle. I think you can get ones that are just made for watercolor too. But it's great because you can activate all of your paint if you want all at once, or it's really quick to go clean off your palette if you want to kind of start fresh and fancy. Look at that, blam, easy. Just to refresh, do not do that with window or glasses cleaning fluid. I put water in mine. But there we go. Now I look the part. So we're gonna add some little bit of some green and yellow to our little seaweed there, just to get it going. Just mix some of that in. Nice and dirty water already. I'll just add a little bit up here. Not being too worried about the edges, obviously, as you can see as I get all over the place. But I will worry about the color. And it looks like I've got some kind of orange there, so I'm actually going to put a touch of orange in, even while it's still wet, just to kind of let it flow and mix in. Mostly doing this just to match what I had on the previous frame, but you can do however it works for you. When you do kind of this technique where you're going to kind of carve it out later, it's kind of fun to get a little bit more messy because you do get these wonderful flowy textures that it's really hard to get otherwise. If you try to just perfectly get a flowy texture in the shape of something, when you kind of carve it out, you can do this in a way. You can also be extra messy if you want, like this, because that means that you don't get these hard edges on the side. Kind of goes all the way through. There we go. Just keep that all the way over the edge. Sometimes with like really big, oh, it looks like I've got some brown seaweed, that's fine. Sometimes with really, really big paintings, if I do want kind of that flow or that bloom or something, I will not paint right to the edge. I will paint all the way through it, just because that way I do get more of that intentional texture. And then we got our little salmon here, and I am going to jump into that one here. Oh shoot, do I do it right now or wait? Let's do it right now. Let's dive in. I think I'm gonna draw a sockeye, although to be honest, I don't think it has the right kind of hump or anything, but just don't get on my back, Alaskans. Sockeyes are red, I think, if I got that right. So I'm gonna get some nice, bright kind of crimson red here, and I'm gonna work over the edge. No, I don't need to be too careful on the lines, but in this case I am for one reason or another. And I'm basically gonna make a kind of circle where I'm almost gonna ignore the middle of my fish. Seems strange, but it does work out, and I'll show you how. Next, I might add just a touch of purple or something like that. My nicely activated palette, super easy. I might add just a touch of purple, not to the base. Like I'm not going right up to the line. I'm kind of going in the middle because fish are not totally flat. Something kind of like that. And then maybe I'll even add some fins in there. I think sockeye have reddish fins. At least the pectoral fins are. These fish really change. When salmon come into freshwater, they go through a ton of changes because they live out in the ocean, and then they come into these streams to have their babies, and they go through these wild changes. And these fish in particular, some of them get just bright, 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 bright red. A little bit of just pure water at this point, and I'm just adding a little bit right in the middle. I might kind of push stuff around, but because we didn't have any water there, and then we add a little bit of water, it'll create these kind of cool blooms and make it look a little bit more shiny as a fish, or it should. Maybe I'll even add a touch of red to this fin. I even think their tails are red too. They're definitely red salmon. It is no wonder to me how they got their name. Or maybe it is a totally different reason. I don't know. Maybe like their personality is more red to whoever named this fish, but to me it seems pretty simple. A little bit of green now, and I'm just gonna add a touch here to the edge, a little bit down. I don't think their tails bleed into their body too much, so I'm gonna let that sit there, and then I'll come in a second and just touch those together. Same with the head. Their head is a little bit green, but if it touches the body and kind of bleeds together, that's fine. You're not going to see a fish in this kind of position a lot, so nobody's really going to call you out on it too much. Except for if you live in Alaska like I do. Oh my gosh, they take their fish very seriously here, and you do not want to mess these things too much up. So that might get me into trouble because that has a lot more green than it needs. That's all right. I'm here for the experience. Let's see what happens. Okay, that's looking lovely. I might even, while I'm here, I might add a touch of some more green while it's still wet, some of my seaweeds, and kind of some interesting shapes. But that's what's fun, is that we'll be able to kind of carve this out and it'll look wildly intentional. Same with this fish. Lovely. Okay, so we got our fish, kind of launched into this just so it exists and can dry sooner than later. And now I'm going to add in a bit of this top up here, kind of this 3D chess game, because I just need this to be dry so I can work on this. And once this is dry, I can work on that. So kind of a, if then situation. But I'm going to match this to this, which is a little bit of this light blue right up here. Not worrying about the edges too much. A little bit of light blue, followed by a touch of this darker blue. But I'll mix that probably with a bit of light blue as well. Cerulean and I think ultramarine if you're into the color names. Okay, a little bit here, a little bit there. With the colors too, there's all kinds of numbers. Like there's series 1, series 2, series 3. Um, 1 is more expensive always, and what I understand is series 1 will be, you know, similar. I can't remember which one is more expensive, but they'll mean something, but it doesn't necessarily mean one is better than the others. It usually means like one has more of this rare mineral than the others. But since watercolor is invented, potentially thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, technology has come a really long way. So there are hues that you can use as well. So like a cobalt red hue means there's no cobalt in there. And that's probably a good thing. Cobalt's kind of a sketchy mineral. It's like akin to lead or something like that. So the hue means that there's no cobalt in there, but it's still the same color. So if you're ever wondering about some of those, to be honest, a lot of my paints are the kind of color I want at whatever is the cheapest, series. If it's a series 1 or 2 or 3, I usually just go with whatever is the cheapest one, just just because that's how my brain works. But if you have a particular liking to one, that's good too. There's no wrong answers, but there are expensive answers. Okay, a little bit more blue. Just matching these up right now, just while it's still wet. But that's all going to work fine. Something like that. Lovely. Lovely, lovely. Now, I like some what's going on with my fish. Zoom up here just so you can see. I do like some what's going on with my fish. Like I like that little bit of a purple bloom. I kind of like the top. I don't like how much of its green head kind of merged into the rest. So I might add a touch more of something else. Normally, I'd caution somebody, don't. Whatever you do, don't like if it's semi okay, leave it alone. Like that's the toughest thing with watercolor. Sorry for the bounces here. That's the toughest thing with watercolor. It's just learning how to let it alone. But let me make those mistakes for you. Okay, a little bit of some purple here. I'm just gonna add some to the mouth area. Are we dry? Oh, it's close to dry. Shoot, should have been quicker. And then this is still wet, so that's good. I'm going to add a little bit kind of up to the base of that fish, because why not? And then I might even add a bit of red too. Maybe don't follow me until we see what happens. I'll be like the guinea pig that they, test on here. A little bit there. Okay, something like that. Kind of hard to tell until it dries, which is the problem with some of these things. But it looks pretty good. The next step is going to be kind of waiting for this one to dry up here. And then once these are dry, then we're going to fill in this and then all of the rest of these pieces. I love watercolor because it is kind of this exercise in you've got to have some forward planning and forward thinking. So if you like kind of those strategy games or something like that, I feel like it might actually painting might help with it. Or if you're good at playing cards or something, kind of imagine. But I also think there's a lot of painting where you can kind of just go, see where one thing takes you to the next. Just coming in here and adding just a touch of dryness. Encourage that to dry a little faster than that the cat is thoroughly taking up all of the heat from the heater. And then if you do get a chance, definitely check out the newsletter. Preaching to the choir, I'm sure, but we have a really fun newsletter, and we actually send out letters as well. Kind of limited on the spots, so not always sure when those will be available, but we are starting like actual letters. What's really fun with these is, as you notice with traces, you just got to print something out. But on our letters, you can just hold one of these up to the letter and trace it that way. So if you haven't already signed up, those exist somewhere on the website, or I'm sure we can tell you all about it. But yeah, there's something nice about getting a physical letter, especially when you can just use it as a trace and then scan a QR code and boom, there's a tutorial for you right there. Kind of a cool thing. Oh, I'm loving what this purple is doing now. Check this out. It's got this little purple right there. It's kind of moving. I don't know where that blue came from, but that is becoming a very fun looking fish. Not sure if it's any recognizable species, but I like it. I like it a lot. Okay. And once again, too, if you have any questions or thoughts, definitely let me know. I'll try to get to all of those, whether it's right now or later as well. Oops. What's going to be really fun too with so much of this is how this whole ring is going to kind of start to create this big picture. Just how it's set up with kind of the spiral, it's kind of fun because we will finish one edge at a time. So we just kind of finish that edge and then it was its own little picture, but then it becomes this duet of a picture that will just build and build and build. So it's really fun to kind of dig into the water side, like the underwater side with these this one and then two more, and I believe two more, maybe three more, and then we kind of head back up into the sky and then we round it out, which is just going to be so fun. And this seems probably dry enough, so I'm going to give it a go, see what happens. I'm going to start with some light blue, just as something to kind of hold on to. A little bit here, because I want that contrast. And then I'll probably add a little bit of purple or maybe a bit of indigo. Something just a little darker. And that's going to go right up here. Something like that. It just kind of shows the break in the water. Kind of going from one world to another. Doesn't take much. It looks kind of funny like this at this angle. And here's a good example if you want to add a little bit of this water down here, because this is all going to be, this is just pure water I'm adding, but you're going to watch it kind of pulls everything in. It's almost like if you tape a package or something, you don't put 1 millimeter of tape on the other side of the box, where it's holding it. You really kind of put a good, you put like a good chunk. Like imagine if this is, if you're taping here to here, you wouldn't just like go right to there. You kind of go to here because you want it to kind of hold. This is going to do the same stuff with your water for some reason. By putting all of this water here, it really pulls the pigment back, which is fun because then we get to cover all of it. Kind of see a little bit maybe. Barely, but it's kind of starting to pull just a touch. Also, when I try to explain things, I find the examples usually fall apart on me, but that's okay. I might add just a little bit more as well too, just to really make it stand out. I love being able to paint next to one of these too, because I feel like when you start, it's a little bit always, where's this going? But then when you have the second, now it's almost like, they're building into each other, which is just so cool. Okay, great work. Go check if there's any questions. Yes. What was with the green face? So, yes, this fish is all right. It is a little green around the gills, quite literally. There's the gills right there, and it's green around them. This is just what salmon look like. I mean, this is a red salmon. This is it's kind of like seeing these in real life is bonkers. I've got to say, because it's just they're so. I mean, they actually look that red, and they're in like some blue stream, and it just looks wrong. It's like, who let this tropical fish up here? But they do swim, and I think the red has something to do with, probably attracts other fish to them. But there'll be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. My wife grew up in a cabin off grid, and lots of these things swim by, and it's just one of the coolest experiences ever. So if you ever get a chance to see these things in the wild, they are delicious, but they're also beautiful, which is really, really fun. But good questions. Yes, no, this fish is okay. Probably. I mean, it's not going to make it. They swim up, mate, and then die, which is kind of a wild thing for them to do. Uh, not even to try to swim back down. But it turns out when they do die, they fertilize the whole stream, and then they're hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of little babies. They're called fry. Um, little salmon babies are called fry. They grow up in this stream that is now so much more rich and vital, and makes me think of like, oh yeah, it's just kind of a good life model. You're not going to make it out of here alive. Nobody does. But if you do a good job, and use all the knowledge and skills, and if you can leave that place that the kiddos grow up in a little bit better, it kind of all works out. All right. On that note, let us paint in this here fish. Oh, that's still pretty wet. Okay, we're gonna wing it, and we're gonna hope that by the time I reach up here, it's all pretty dry. So here we go. Starting with the same gradient, but I'm going to start with the blue in this case. So I'm going to grab myself a good chunk of blue. And I should have put my water in first. A little bit of water maybe here or there. And I'll just kind of extend how long I can go. A little bit there. Okay, there we go. Painting with invisible ink there. And I'm just going to go straight in for this blue. Might give my finger a little bit of a thumb hold. I should have taped my paper down, but a little bit of some blue right here. You can kind of gauge how dark your blue needs to be by how much you need to cover up. So this is relatively easy amounts that I went over. You can still see some of it creeping through, but I think we should be good on this case. And then I'm just trying slowly to kind of hit all the right angles. But if I miss one, then that's okay. No one will really tell the difference, especially when you're painting seaweed. It all kind of is a blob anyway. A little bit here, a little bit there. Here we go. And then a little up to the top. Just curving down. This is a great exercise in the hand-eye coordination. Here we are. And let's get this half of the fish in blue, and then we'll get the other half of the fish in blue, and then we'll touch it to some indigo. I think that's what I'm feeling. Okay, here's kind of the moment of truth. There's going to be a couple of them. First, can I paint not touching my finger? First moment of truth. Okay, great, we're through. And then the next one will be, is this fish wet? That's going to be real exciting. Riveting stuff. But actually it is. I don't know if you feel this way, but for me, watercolor is just so like, I should wear a heart rate monitor because sometimes, those little crux moments of a painting, it's like, what is going to happen? Okay, a little bit here, a little bit there. Got a nice sharp brush. This is just like the standard number 8 that I use for everything. But it does come to a nice even point, which I like. Although you got to find whatever brush you love. I do think there's so much truth in Goldilocks and the Three Bears when it comes to art supplies. You got to find that thing that's just right, and you'll know when you get there. Usually by finding something that is too hot, too cold, too stiff, or too soft. Okay, there's a little bit here. This is why I'm not taping this one down. I'm going to flip it over just because it's a little bit more comfortable for me to go this direction for some reason. Having paper either on a swivel, or if you do like to tape your paper down, a little drawing board can be a great investment. Both because it will really help you, and also because I think they can cost $3 or $4 sometimes. You can tape your paint down, or a book. Maybe there's convince yourself that you need one more book, or just take one of the books that you've started but haven't finished. Instant drawing board. Multifunctional. A little bit right here, and now we're about to move into the indigo. Almost there. Okay, let's do some indigo. Rushing a little bit because while it's still wet, I really, really, really want to get in. Okay, there we go. Kind of a little bit of indigo, a little bit of blue, kind of nice wet mix. And I'm just going right along the edge. Oh, to be one of those painters that was so confident they'd just do a single brush stroke, but no, I am not them. Right along the edge. In here. A little bit down here. I kind of like this bloom, kind of want to leave it, but also I think I'm just going to cover it up with some water and hope I kind of keep some cool semblance of those shapes. Okay, and then I might come in with a little bit of pure indigo just for the top, just where it's the darkest. It can be kind of a dangerous thing because your eye is going to be drawn to the darkest part of a sketch. But I think I have enough blue and contrast to be able to pull this off. Okay, there we go. How's that look? I'll just slot that back into place. It will dry lighter, so I'm hoping I'm hoping those two match pretty good in a second, but that's looking pretty cool to me. I'm liking that. We got a couple more details we'll add into our little fish here in just one moment, but just appreciating. I'm tempted to make huge changes, but I'm gonna try not to. Maybe I will try to pick out whatever cat hair or something is uh, just making a little blop in my canvas. This might be actually tissue paper. Get out of there. Come here. Come here. Come here. People are always probably thinking like, oh, what interesting artistic decisions to like make a nice line of indigo down the side. And I was like, no, no, no. That was me just trying to clean cat hair out of my painting. There's a lot of examples of that in my work. Okay, there we go. And here, if you want to see a little closer, we've got everything. It will start to dry, and I want it to, especially for some of those blooms. I want some of that texture that I didn't put in here to kind of show up naturally. So I might add just a little drop or two of water, hoping that it kind of does some of that. But also a lot of times it'll just kind of naturally show up. Unfortunately, you can't really tell until it's too late. Too late to add anything more or change anything. By that point, it's kind of things are sort of locked in. But we'll see. See how it all shows up. Okay, and now I'm going to go work a little tiny bit on the details of this fish. I might use a tinier brush. No, okay. I have tinier brushes. They do exist. I have lots of brushes. But I've been trying to do everything with one brush just to kind of show that it can be done. Usually this is the case that I have to just, I'm in the field and I have one brush and there's no real other choices. But in this case, let me just put the extra bit of challenge here. What I will do is I'll just kind of get the perfect consistency, perfect texture. I got a nice, really thin brush. I'm just going to do a touch in the gills, that one little line that you have on the fish, and then probably a little eyeball right there. Maybe I'll even add a few lines here on the tail, because they do kind of have like little finny tails. Oh, I messed that one up a bit, but that's fine. Maybe a couple up here as well. But it doesn't need to be too much. There we go. That's a fun little fish. And then, like I said, that will dry and dry a little bit lighter, and we'll be able to see hopefully some interesting blooms. If you wanted to use some of those other fun techniques like salt or something like that, I mean, this is one of the little salty mountains we did. Like that would look really cool in the water. Here's another good example, like this one. That you could definitely imagine that in the water. But ultimately, this kind of example of negative space and things like that, like this is totally one of my favorite ways to be able to kind of highlight watercolor, and it's so unique in a lot of ways, and can be done in the field, or at least you can sketch it out and fill it in a little bit later. But if you get a chance, we'd love to see how they turn out. It is so fun to see all these different fish. And don't be afraid if you like the technique but want to try it with something else, maybe an octopus or a submarine or a swimming otter, whatever you want. The technique is kind of the same, and that's what's so cool about these is you have these lessons, whether the the tile itself turns out well or you just come home with a lesson. Like that is the thing that gets to stick with you forever. So I can't wait to see how you use yours, and I can't wait for this next one as we kind of continue a little bit underwater on this semi-final edge. I suppose we have two more edges, but one of the final edges of this really fun series.